As a self-taught programmer and avid learner, I figured out pretty early on that the most important skill that I could develop was the ability to learn and apply new information as quickly as possible. And for those beginners out there, this is something I really want to emphasize. The best programmers really do learn every day, or just about every day. So in this video, I will summarize years of experience on this point, and I kind of pretty much guarantee you that this will help you to learn much faster than the traditional rote memorization approach, which is often taught in schools. So what I'll be doing is I'll start with 2 tips about what not to do when it comes to learning programming and also just programming concepts and tools in general. And then I'll give you 2 tips on what to do. Alright, so for tip number 1, I highly suggest that you avoid rote memorization. So what would rote memorization look like if you're not familiar with the term? Basically, let's say you want to learn Kotlin, and then the first thing you do is you hop straight into the documentation and you go through and try to write down what every keyword in the language means and all of the syntax in like a notepad or a piece of paper without actually writing any actual application code. So this is kind of the approach that we get taught in school, and ironically it's been proven to be pretty much the worst way to learn just about anything. So that can be kind of a natural approach, and I'm not saying that reading the documentation is a bad idea, but I do not suggest that as your primary source of learning the language, especially as a beginner. Once you start to get more advanced, that's when the documentation is going to help you cover some more advanced features. Alright, so for tip number 2, avoid learning topics in isolation. So I call this the laundry list learning approach, and it basically involves looking at topics one by one without knowing what they can do to help you solve a problem in your application code, or even how they all fit together. So this was the approach that I took way back in 2013 when I was learning Java Enterprise Edition, and let me tell you, I had a horrible time of it. I had no idea what was going on, because even if I looked up a particular topic and wrote down what it did, I had no idea how to actually use it in one of my applications. So this is a really key point here. It can seem natural to just say, if I know every individual topic in the language or the framework that I'm using, that will be the way to sort of master it. But in reality, this approach just does not work. There's just a lot of reasons, but most importantly, if you don't know when you're going to use a complicated concept, then your ability to retain it and actually learn it is actually drastically lower. In short, interest and knowing where to use something is directly tied to your ability to learn something. Okay, so you're probably wondering at this point, how do I actually learn anything if I don't go by topic? So let me give you some really powerful tips that I actually apply here. So tip number 1 for what to do is to follow a project-based learning approach as often as you can. So basically how this works is that whenever you want to learn something new, so it could be the language, it could be a framework, a tool, whatever, my main suggestion for you is to start by building a demo project and use that to basically guide your learning process with whatever concepts and topics you're trying to learn. So this is going to do a couple different things for you. Number 1, if you're learning topics based on where they fit into an application that you're building, then you're going to know which topics to actually focus on because they're going to be relevant to solving a problem. You're going to retain them better as a result of that, because instead of just writing down something in Notepad or something like that about how something works, you'll have actually built something in code, which trust me, you're going to remember it better when you do that. And what this is going to do is that the reason why the laundry list learning approach works so poorly is there's just too many topics in programming for you to kind of just go sort of line by line or topic by topic and solve it like that. So when you have an application you're building, you basically just want to pick the topics relevant to it. And that's going to just really help you guide your learning process much better. Okay, so the final tip here is the most important thing for beginners who really want to master programming or application development. So when I started way back in 2014 with Android development, one of the few things I did really, really well in the beginning is I picked a project that I wanted to build and an application that I wanted to use. So it happened to be a workout logging application because at the time I was really into working out. So this did a number of different things. So when you first build a fairly robust application, if you've never done so before, especially if you do it alone, it's a process which can take several months. So if you want to be able to motivate yourself in order to actually follow through with building a fairly large project, then it really helps to pick something that you're interested in. So if you're into gaming, try and think of an application you could use to, record stuff about the game you're playing, or I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out there. But if you really, really want to learn Kotlin quickly and really get a good grasp of the language, I strongly suggest you pick like a main project that you want to build, and you, after this course, get to work building it. And I will, of course, give you the groundwork to start building it here. This is going to do many, many different things for you. It's going to be easier to be motivated to actually build the project because, again, we've got that interest factor immediately in there. It's going to give you the chance to know what it's like to be on the user end of the application if it's something you actually use. And I really just can't recommend this approach enough. This is the actual approach I used to basically learn the fundamentals of Kotlin in under a month. Is I picked an app I wanted to build, and I just spent about 3 weeks building it. It wasn't perfect, obviously. It wasn't the beautiful Kotlin syntax that I write at this point, but it was a full functioning application, and that's how I was able to pick up the language really quickly. Now, I had a lot of experience in Java, so that's one of the things there. Admittedly, I didn't have to learn anything about software architecture, but so that's kind of my main tip here. If you really, really, really want to drive your learning process and succeed quickly with Kotlin or any other language, I really suggest you pick a main project and you just get to work on it. So yeah, that's basically it for the tips, and hopefully that was useful.